Why, hello, guys. Welcome to this week's training. First up, apologies that this is not live. Normally, I hate to miss a live, but I've recorded this. I'm actually recording this now for you for tomorrow because I have to drive to Perth to help a family member with a medical appointment. But I didn't want you to miss out on our weekly training. So I just wanted to record this for you so you'll have it tomorrow or today in your case ready for you now. So look, as always, please drop an emoji in the comments. I'd love to hear how your week is going. As you can see, I've dropped an emoji and I'm not sure if it really represents me very well, but I'm feeling really good. I've decided to my husband and I have decided to go for a bike ride at the end of every day. And it's been a long time coming, but it feels really good. Maybe it's also because it's spring and there's a lot of canola around us at the moment and the paddock's looking green, which is lovely. So having said that, bike riding on when you live on a farm is challenging at the best of times. It's off-roading constantly. So anyway, it presents its challenges, but it's keeping me busy. So that's good. Look, today we're going to talk about something that I'm really passionate about, and that's decision making. Now, when we're building a wellbeing action team, how we make decisions as a group is really important. And it's really important to consider. And it often determines whether we thrive as a team or whether we kind of fizzle out and fall apart. Now, this is a foundational stage strategy in my Community Wellbeing Blueprint that is often overlooked. I see it more often than not in communities that I work with. But if you want a sustainable and successful community wellbeing solution, this is absolutely essential. And every element of this foundational stage is really, really important. But like I said, it's often skipped because people want to get into the action taking. But if you just spend that little bit of time in that foundational stage, it has huge benefits for ongoing success. All right, so here's the truth. When all voices at the table feel heard and feel valued, people really stay engaged. They show up, they share their best ideas, they're excited to share their ideas, and they really start to believe that the group or the team is really worth their time and it's well worth them making the effort to get to the meetings. Now, a really important thing to remember is that most of the people sitting around the table are going to be volunteers. They're going to be volunteering their time. Hopefully, ultimately, they won't have to volunteer. We can get some financial backing for them, but that takes a little bit of time to happen. But they're often the people who always put their hand up. And I would dare to say that you may be one of those people that always puts their hands up. You're often putting your hand up for things in your community. You're often giving your time. They're giving their time, their energy, their heart. And on top of all of their already busy lives that they're trying to deal with. Now, that's why it's so critical that they don't just feel included. They actually need to feel that their voice matters and that it has a place and that they're really a valuable part of the process. They're not just being invited along to kind of agree with what you've already decided. And that they start to feel that the journey itself is just as enjoyable as the outcome they're working towards achieving. And that's the same for you. Now, the problem is, and I see this a lot, I've seen this both in education, I've seen it in my role in communities, I've seen it in every meeting I've ever been part of. But what typically happens is that meetings fall into the trap of that there's an agenda item, that the chairperson or the person leading the meeting opens the floor and then waits for discussion. And there's discussion that happens. Now, while that can be useful sometimes, it often means that the loudest and most confident voices dominate the conversation. And as someone who is one of those loud voices, I know how easy that is to happen and how that, without meaning to, accidentally drowns out those other voices and those other people at the table. Now, the truth is, not everyone thinks, shares, or processes in the same way. You know, some people can think on their feet. I find it relatively effortless to think as I'm going, but a lot of other people need time to reflect, and there's nothing wrong with that. Often it means that what they come out and say is very well thought out. Now, some people thrive writing down their ideas, while other people really shine in a one on one chat. And then other people again shine in an open forum where they can bounce ideas back and forth. Now, that's why varying your decision making strategies is so very important. It's really how you create a safe space where every single personality type has an opportunity to contribute. And it really ensures that the passionate, quieter voices and the ones who might otherwise stay silent are equally valued, as well as those people who are a little bit more confident and more outspoken. And when that starts to happen, people don't just turn up for the outcomes, they come back to those meetings because they enjoy being part of the process. And that's really, really important. Very, very important if you want a sustainable, long term, successful wellbeing solution. All right. So I'm going to share with you 3 very practical strategies that you can use to make sure that every voice counts when you look to set up an action team or when you look to work and collaborate with other people. Now, these aren't just fluffy ideas. They're actually things that I've used in my own community action team when I first set it up, and that I've used to support communities as they're building their processes. And it can really change the entire vibe of your meetings. So they're really, really useful. All right, strategy number 1 is what I call Jot Thoughts. Now, this is a really effective way to brainstorm without the dominant voices taking over. Okay, and I do want to say there's nothing wrong with the dominant voices either. I'm one of them, as I mentioned, but it's just we want to ensure that everybody feels part of it, and we want to avoid telling those dominant people off as well, because you know that can happen. We want to make sure it's a place where everybody feels part of that process and is valued for what they have to offer. So here's how Jot Thoughts works. So you start by explaining the topic that you want to talk about or the decision you need to make. And everyone gets given a pile of sticky notes, and they need to jot down one idea only on each sticky note. Now, when everyone's done that, they've had time to exhaust their thoughts, and you do this without anyone talking, because you want to give people a chance to think about their ideas, to have time to process, and as they're ready to write those things down. Then what you're going to do is you're going to get, and you can get people to stand up around a table or just do it sitting down around a table, whatever you like. But you take turns one at a time, sharing your ideas one at a time and placing them in the middle as you go. Now, the reason I say that you only want to get people to share one idea at a time is that often when we go around and each person just tells their ideas, the first person may say a lot of great ideas, and then already the second person might be saying, well, all my ideas have been said. Now, when we go around the circle and just give one each, and you can do that for a couple of rounds and you can change it as you go, but it means that you don't end up with that person or people saying that all their ideas have been said. We really want to try and encourage everyone to have an opportunity to speak up and to offer them that opportunity to share their ideas. And if someone's a little apprehensive with that, which they might be at first, because not everyone's as comfortable in that group conversation situation, it doesn't mean they don't have great ideas. But if they're feeling apprehensive, if they don't get that supported opportunity, sometimes they can be less likely to engage in the future, especially if someone jumps in and gives their ideas perhaps over the top of them, meaning well, but perhaps not realizing the impact they might have. Now, like I said, as you go around the circle, you can change it as you need to. But if as you're first going around, if someone has a similar idea, then they can just snap that idea on top of somebody else's, because you're likely to get people that will have similar ideas. And you just keep going until all the ideas have been shared. And now you've suddenly got a full range of perspectives visible to the whole team, not just the loudest few. And if you've watched my past videos, last week and probably the week before as well, I mentioned that keep these documents, take a photo of all the post-its laid out on the piece of paper. If you want to turn it into a Word document, great. If you want to turn it into a Canva document, but keep it, put it in a little folder. You will thank me later on when you're looking for funding, trust me. I'll talk about that in some later videos. Now, a variation you can do on that activity is you can then give everybody 5 or 10 coins or little tokens, and then they might vote on their favorite one. If it's something that you're having to narrow down, if it's not just brainstorming ideas. And that really helps you create a clear sense of priorities without people feeling that their ideas haven't been heard. All right, strategy number 2, which I call coloured cards. So this one is really simple, but very powerful when making a series of decisions in a row. Certainly when you're getting started and you're trying to develop meeting protocols, or you're trying to come up with different ideas for something and things like that, and you want to go, you've had a big brainstorm and now you want to go, which of those do we want to keep perhaps? So what you do is you just give everyone a piece of red, orange and green card. Just literally go to your local newsagent, really cheap card, cut it up into small little squares, doesn't have to be anything fancy. Green means I agree. Red means I don't agree. And orange means I'm not sure, or I need more information before I feel comfortable about making a decision. So then what you're going to do is you're going to read through your decisions you need to make, or your statements, or you can have them up on the whiteboard and go through them one at a time, or however you want to do that. And everyone just simply holds up their card that matches their beliefs. So how that works is you get to instantly see the group's overall temperature on something. So it becomes really quite obvious how everyone's feeling. And then the discussion, rather than having discussion about every single one, which can be quite labor intensive and quite time consuming, especially when you're running on a meeting agenda, is that you can just discuss what's needed in order to move forward. Now, when people are unsure or hold up an orange card, then this is a great invitation to get them to share what is it that they need in order to feel comfortable to say yes, if the group's generally been in agreement, or perhaps what's holding them back, because they might have very valid reason that needs to be discussed as a group that other people may not have thought of. And then the other reason this works really well is that you don't just bulldoze over concerns. You really bring them to the surface, talk through them, and strengthen that buy-in from people who might have been thinking, no, this is definitely the way we go. We get to have some really concrete discussions about it and make a very informed discussion before we move forward. Now, another variation you can do is you can just simply do it with thumbs, up, down, and sideways. But you just want to keep it really simple. Doesn't have to be complicated. It's not supposed to be hard work for the person organising the meeting, and that could very much be you at the start of things. All right, the third and final strategy I'm going to talk about today, there's lots that I could mention, but I just thought I'd bring 3 to your attention today, is sticky dot voting. Well, that's what I call it. This one's really great for narrowing down a big set of options. So, for example, when you're creating, say, your mentally healthy community vision document that I talked about recently, or later down the track when you're actually writing a community wellbeing plan, or perhaps your team might already be there and you want to use it right now for that. What you're going to do is you can use this sticky dot approach. So you're going to give each person on your table 5 to 10 sticky dots. You can get those at, like Officeworks or a newsagent or anywhere that sells those types of things. You just get strips of coloured dots. And what people are going to do is you're going to put out the options that people are choosing from. So, say, for example, let's use the mentally healthy community activity. You might have come up with with lots of ideas, and you've actually come up with too many. You want to make a poster, you want to put something out to the community to see what they think, but you kind of want to narrow it down to 8 to 10 things. So you might say, all right, here's everybody's 5 to 10 sticky dots. You need to put dots next to the ones that you feel the most passionate about. And what they can actually do is they can put 1 dot on 10 things, or they can put 3 on one they feel very strongly about that they think's really important, or however they want to do it. And then when you come back to look at it, you can really see which ones have stood out. You might need to have some debate about a couple, but it really makes that process so much more simplified than trying to have a discussion about every single one. So that's really helpful because, like I said, those dots really show you where the energy are and can give you that clear indication before you make that final call. All right, so we've gone through 3 really powerful tools that you can use. So we've talked about the Jot Thoughts, which are great for brainstorming and keeping it really inclusive of all the opinions and people's viewpoints. Coloured cards for getting some real clarity around the options and having respectful discussion so that you can move forward. And sticky dot voting for really prioritising ideas you may have come up with. Works particularly well after a brainstorming session of things. When you really mix up your decision-making methods, it helps you to keep your meetings fresh and fair and fun and engaging, and actually builds trust that everyone's voice is really important. It actually matters. All right, so I want to try a quick little fun experiment. I'm just going to give you a silly decision to make just to practice this technique. So very controversial, maybe because I'm from Australia, but very controversial. What I want you to think about right now is, should pineapple be on a pizza? Yes or no? All right. If you're yes, I want you to drop a green dot or a green emoji in the comments. If you're no, I want you to drop a red emoji. And if you're decided or you need more information, like what sort of pizza are we talking about, or anything else you might think of, then you can drop an orange dot. Now, this is a silly activity, but hopefully we might see really quickly where the group stands on pineapple on pizza. Hopefully, all I'm saying is that you've all said pineapple is good on pizza, because I know that's where I stand. But it just shows the power of using strategies like this in your meetings. It's a really, really effective tool. All right, so action for this week. I want you to pick one of the strategies that we've talked about. Now, if you already have a team, pick one of those strategies and commit to trying it in your next meeting. Or you can even try it at home or work or wherever. And I want you to think about, which one are you going to try first? So you're going to try Jot Thoughts, you're going to try coloured cards or sticky dots. And I just want you to write that in the comments to try and give yourself a little bit of accountability that you're going to try and give it a go. If you don't have a team, that's fine, because you might just be going, I don't even know if I want to do a community wellbeing solution. But I just want you to, as we've been talking about it, think, if you were going to a meeting, which one would you like? Just jot down the one that stands out to you and appeals to you. Or if you've got your own great decision-making strategy, then 100% tell us what it is, because we'd love to find out and share our ideas. Now, as I mentioned, these strategies are part of the foundational stage of my community wellbeing plan. They're simple but really powerful ways to set your team up for collaboration and success, and they make such a difference to the whole feeling of the way your meeting's being run. Now, if you'd like the full framework for building a community-driven wellbeing solution and really understanding how to go from that first coffee chat to a really sustainable, fully funded plan, then I want to give you the opportunity to jump on the waitlist for my Community Wellbeing Changemaker membership that I'm hoping to open within the next month or so. So if you want to be the first to know when that's going to drop and what that's all about, then please jump on the link that I've included both in the description of this video and in the comments. Look, as always, let's stop watching the mental health statistics and let's start changing them. Until next week, hopefully you're going to have lots of fun in your meetings with your new strategies. I'll talk later and see you soon.